Everyone, is Perma Egg Jules here, and we are delighted to say that today's video is brought to you in partnership with Manscaped. But you know what? We're going to have more about that later in the video. So, if it looks like a superhero, acts like a superhero, and is resistant to death as a superhero, it's probably a superhero. And you don't get much more super than when it comes to Batman, because seriously, this guy has seen it all and done it all, and then beaten it all into the ground and then said, "I don't kill anyone, dude," or some such other gritty line. But here's the thing, as much as Batman has his code about not killing criminals, he himself hasn't received the same blessing and has actually died in comics quite a fair few times, although maybe died should have quotation marks around it because remember, this is comics and no one stays dead forever. So let's take a look at them. As I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture.com, and these are 10 times that Batman has, air quotes, died. Number 10, bleeding out in a cave with the Joker. Now, one of the more recent examples of the demise of the Dark Knight came in the pages of Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo's Endgame. The storyline in this Batman title saw the hero facing off against his arch-nemesis for what seemed like the final time. Riffing on their brutal confrontation in Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns, which turned fatal for one of them, the climax of Endgame saw the Clown Prince of Crime and the Caped Crusader fighting in a series of underground caves which housed a hidden pool of life elixir gubbins that previously brought the Joker back to life. Not particularly wanting the most dangerous man in Gotham to be essentially immortal, Batman pulled out all the stops to first cease a city-wide dosing of Joker venom and then to off the bad guy himself once and for all. There was eye gouging, backstabbing, and finally the two of them collapsed in a heap of limbs and blood, with the area then caving in on them both. Woof. Number 9, he exploded in a helicopter crash. So Grant Morrison had some grand ideas when he took over writing the main Batman title. Now, the Scottish writer is adept in folding in his own interests in occult mysticism, weird sex stuff, and the grand history of superhero comics into his work, and managed to do all of that in the Batman R.I.P. storyline, which sought to square the varied history of the Dark Knight into one concise character. That meant returning to concepts and characters that had been long since forgotten by multiple DC Universal reboots, with a Batwoman that hadn't appeared since the 50s and other themes that hadn't been touched upon by Batman writers in decades. Of course, he also had to go one step further and kill the Caped Crusader off whilst revitalizing him. The R.I.P. storyline came to an end with a criminal organization called the Black Glove gaining access to the Batcave, incapacitating all of the Bat family and smearing the Wayne family name. The fact that the group were apparently led by Bruce's long-dead father Thomas didn't help matters, but their final move was to have Batman die in a helicopter crash, or so it seemed. Number 8, shocked by the electrocutioner. Go ahead, try and guess what the electrocutioner's power set involves. Go on, I dare you guess. And no, it's not the power to be knocked out in one punch in the Batman games. For a supervillain so lacking in subtlety or invention, the title of the electrocutioner has somehow been passed down to 3 separate people. But it was the second, the brother of the original, that came the closest to besting his rival. Lester Buczynski was introduced by Chuck Dixon in Detective Comics number 644, which kicked off the Electric City arc where he adopted the guise of the electrocutioner and headed out on Batman's trail, blasting electricity from his gloves and able to draw power from other energy sources that he happened upon along the way. Eventually, he did manage to catch up with the Dark Knight, and, well, there's only so much electricity that a man can actually take. Even when that man has got a lot of special training and wears a funky rodent suit, Batman's heart actually stopped, and he was only saved by Robin resuscitating him before refusing his sidekick's pleas that he rest and heal with the all-time classic line, "I was technically dead, not clinically." Oh, Batman, you absolute joker, you. Number 7, he stopped his heart on purpose. If the likes of Endgame and Batman R.I.P. seemed a little out there to modern tastes, the early days were surely beyond the pale. The Golden Age and Silver Age adventures of Batman were so utterly bonkers that it made the Adam West TV show look like the gritty Christian Bale films by comparison, with the Caped Crusader fighting enemies like gorillas with bombs on them. Yes, that actually happened. Still, they found moments of grim fatalism in places, like the story where Robin kept dying in rather hilarious ways, kinda like Kenny from South Park, or the time that Batman finally met his maker, but it all turned out to be an elaborate ploy so that he could go undercover in an exclusive criminal organization. What is going on here? Yet, in the Death Cheaters of Gotham City, he had his heart artificially stopped and was technically dead for several minutes, before Robin then had to revive him. Nothing like faking your own death to freak out your already orphaned surrogate son, eh? The whole thing was a ruse so that he could join the Death Cheaters Club, with having been dead for a bit being the main entry criteria.
Yes, it's actually just much funnier if you do it in a shirt and a funny voice. Oh wait, it's on.
Hello. Oh, hello. Spokesperson for Scrotal Satisfaction, Josh Brown here. And if there's one thing we know at WhatCulture.com, it's balls. Ooh. And that's why we have, once again, partnered with Manscaped.com to bring you their incredible Performance Package 4.0 bundle. I mean, look at it. Packaging and production design almost as sleek and as smooth as the downstairs regions of my colleagues. Almost. First, say hello to my little friend here, the Lawnmower 4.0. Its replaceable ceramic blades with skin-safe technology and an LED light help you trim with confidence and see everything with perfect clarity. Too much clarity, some would say, but not me. It's also good for beard maintenance if you give it a clean, and it comes with a wireless charging dock and a triple lock feature for when you're on the move. 3 clicks and then you're good to go. Put simply, there'll be no more funny looks in the baggage claim when your bag is quote-unquote acting weird. Out of the shower, the Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant has you covered for clear, drying moisturizing that'll keep it downstairs fresh all day. And on the other ball, the Crop Reviver Ball Toner Spray with cooling aloe vera is there for your midday refresh. Smells like balls. For a limited time as well, you can get 2 free gifts with your order. The Shed Travel Bag and these Manscaped anti-chafing boxer shorts, which just completely changed my life. Finally, sign up to the Peak Hygiene plan to get replenishments of your favorite products delivered straight to your door, no fuss. So, what are you waiting for? Go to manscaped.com right now to get 20% off and free international shipping when you use our code WAT20 at the checkout. That's the code WAT20 when you check out. But for now, back to that video.
Number 6, he was killed 3 times in Countdown Arena. Countdown was one of the lesser crossover events that DC has published in their history, supposedly building up, or is that down, to an even bigger event called Final Crisis. It was also supposed to function as a sequel to the incredibly successful and really damn good Series 52, a weekly book that preceded it and explored stories with a lot of B-list characters, and it was a lot of fun. Not only was Countdown a semi-lead into Final Crisis, but it got its own spin-offs as well, and one of which was the very odd Countdown Arena, wherein the supervillain Monarch orchestrates a Roman-style gladiatorial battle between heroes from loads of different universes in order to build an army that will fight the multiverse-destroying monitors. It was a goofy concept from the start, and it ended up being as needlessly bloodthirsty, vicious, and inhumane as the gladiatorial arenas that inspired it. But we're all here to focus on Batman, and there was a single issue that killed off multiple versions of him, with the Gotham by Gaslight Batman being knocked out, and the World War II hero the Bat being killed by a vampire Batman, the latter of whom is summarily obliterated. Number 5, being zapped with a time bullet by Darkseid. Final Crisis is even more difficult to describe than the Grant Morrison epic that led into it, the aforementioned Batman R.I.P. When that title turned out to be something of a misnomer, the Scottish writer nevertheless orchestrated a demise for the Dark Knight. It was so hard to describe because whilst the former series involved the Bat family, Final Crisis starred the entire DC universe. That's not an exaggeration either. This was a crossover event that literally involved the whole universe, as cosmic villain Darkseid unleashed his anti-life equation, which tipped the scale so evil would finally win in a comic book where good was always supposed to triumph. It was pretty meta, as was the death that Batman faced right at the end. Having broken his one rule and smuggled a gun into Darkseid's lair, Batman gets the drop on the big bad and shoots him with a cosmic bullet that travels through time. It does the deed, but the phenomenally powerful Darkseid makes sure that it bounces back and removes the Dark Knight from the equation. Well, actually, it just sent him back to the Stone Age, but still, it's as good as dead. Number 4, he blew himself up before communist Superman got to him. Red Sun is a weird story, part of DC's Elseworlds line of alternate reality storylines that don't have any bearing on the mainstream continuity. Writer Mark Miller took that as a carte blanche excuse to come up with the most high-concept alternate history he could, namely one where Kal-El landed in the USSR and was raised as a well-mannered communist superhero. Instead of becoming the defender of truth, justice, and the American way, he's the champion of the common worker who fights a never-ending battle for Stalin, socialism, and the international expansion of the Warsaw Pact. A weapon for the communist state, the United States are eager to topple their enemy's secret weapon. And here the Cold War goes a little differently, with Batman being a kid whose dissident parents were shot by a member of the KGB, who then dedicates his life to stopping Superman with the help of Lex Luthor. He's just like regular Batman, only now he wears a furry hat. Oh, and also he doesn't stand a chance against Superman, so he blows himself up before the Man of Steel can actually get to him. Number 3, he was stabbed in the chest with a shovel. Exploring the origins of the immortal title, quite literally and figuratively, Batman villain Ra's al Ghul, the birth of the demon flits back and forth between a modern-day duel between the bad guy and the Dark Knight and the early days of the man who would turn out to be Ra's. Turns out that a man who has been alive for 600 years has some pretty good stories to tell, go figure. Birth of the Demon mainly exists to show the differences and similarities between Batman and Ra's. Both are equally driven, blessed with divine purpose, but Ra's doesn't have the whole moral crusade thing that the Caped Crusader does. He's just kind of a bit of a madman, but one who's really committed to killing absolutely everyone. In pursuit of that goal, he goes toe-to-toe with Batman, who has bested him a few times prior to this battle. Unwilling to accept another defeat, he gets especially brutal, and once he has the upper hand on his opponent, grabs a shovel and stabs it right into Batman's chest. Yeah, actually stabs him with it. Now, Bruce technically dies here, using his last bit of strength to drag him and Ra's into the Lazarus pit. Number 2, he was electrocuted and then used as a puppet by the Atom. The corpse that wouldn't die is straight up one of the strangest stories ever told in comic book history. Not just Batman comics or superhero comics, but all comics ever published. After all, what other story have you read in any medium, come to think of it, that involves somebody dying only to be brought back to life by a tiny person jumping around inside their brain? Now, a little backstory, not that it will make it sound any more sane. Brave and the Bold number 115 opens with Batman being shocked as he enters an electrified window, the voltage being enough to stop his heart. And this time around, there's no Robin around to resuscitate him. Instead, the Atom, who can shrink himself down to minuscule sizes, is on hand to watch Batman's demise. And instead of getting a doctor or something like that, Ray Palmer instead makes himself small enough so that he can enter the Dark Knight's cerebral cortex and control him like a puppet in order to track down the killer. And somehow, Batman's organs just start working again at the end. Yay! And number 1, he was tortured for eternity by the Joker. So Emperor Joker is the first time the Clown Prince of Crime has ever really gotten one up on his arch enemy. The mostly forgotten crossover event saw the Joker steal a reality-altering powers from Superman villain Mr. Mxyzptlk, which allows him to literally change the world as he sees fit, which it turns out mainly involves him just basically torturing everyone. Technically a Superman crossover event rather than a Batman one, Emperor Joker saw the bad guy rewriting reality so that the Man of Steel was in Arkham Asylum for killing Lex Luthor, the Justice League was led by his evil doppelganger Bizarro, and Huntress, Nightwing, and Robin are dead. Oh, and Aquaman has an actual fish head. And the Joker's sense of humor really comes to a head in the fate that he commits Batman to, where he tortures him to death day in, day out before resurrecting him the next morning and starting it all over again. In fact, that's the way this story would have ended were it not for the Joker himself realizing the error of his ways, as despite all of his attempts, Superman doesn't save the day. It was the Emperor Joker realizing his sense of self was so tied up with Batman that if the Dark Knight were to die for good, he wouldn't have a reason to live either. So it kind of makes sense how Endgame ended as well. Full circle. And there we go, my friends. Those were 10 times that Batman has air quotes died. I hope that you enjoyed that, and please let me know what you thought about it down in the comments section below. As always, I've been Jules. You can go follow me over on Twitter at RetroJ with a 0, or you can swing by Live and Let's Dice, where I do all of my streaming outside of work, and it'd be great to see you over there, my friends. But before I go, I just want to say one thing. Hope you're treating yourself well with love and respect, my friend, like the superhero I know you are, because you deserve love, happiness, and respect. We all do as human beings, and I want you to go out there and absolutely smash your life goals today. I believe in you, you massive ledge. As always, I've been Jules. You have been awesome. Never forget that, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.